Yeah. Anyway, welcome back, everybody. This is part 15 of my 2025 DVD and Blu-ray collection overview. Now, before we jump into the other shelf here, I do want to go through these because this is stuff that I watched or shuffled around a bit, and we haven't gotten to it yet, so we'll do that. So first up, I just watched this before rolling film here today, and it's Frosty, the original Frosty, because you got to have Frosty on Blu-ray. This also has Frosty Returns, which is okay. I don't think it's as good as the original, but you got to have at least the original Frosty on Blu-ray. I have Rudolph. I think it's somewhere over here. But yeah, you got to watch at least the classics every Christmas. And then next, because I had mentioned this before, this is all of my, not all of, it's most of my Clint Eastwood Blu-ray. There's two that I did not watch that are on the other, the other stuff I haven't watched yet shelf. We'll get to those later on, but Clint Eastwood did turn 95 this year, and I did want to celebrate his work and his life and everything, so I watched a bunch of his movies. I'm actually still watching through some of his movies, but I pulled them off of the shelf because I was actually about to start doing them when I started watching them, and just said, we'll just get to that later. And all good stuff here. So first up we have, and also most of these I had not seen all of these I haven't seen in forever. I have not watched these movies in quite a while. I got to change that, especially, ones like these. I need to watch them more often. But we have starting it off with the ones that started it off for him, the Dollars trilogy. I do want to get the Arrow sets because I heard that the picture quality is so much better. They actually did it right because these movies, a lot of these earlier Clint Eastwood movies, the picture quality is not the best. They didn't really take care of the prints and stuff, so there you go. But and then they have new extras as well. But we have A Fistful of Dollars, which is actually my favorite. This one was always my favorite of the trilogy. I know, blasphemy. I didn't say The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, which is a classic. Don't get me wrong. But it's got that 90-minute running time. It's a remake of Yojimbo, which of course they got sued for, which is one of the reasons why this got delayed in America, because they were going back and forth on lawsuits. So then they were able to figure it out, and that's why it came out a couple years later in the States. Of course, they had to dub it and everything too, but oh well. But just classic. One of the all-time classic westerns. And then we have For a Few Dollars More, another classic as far as I'm concerned. All three of these are classics. You cannot go wrong. And I used to watch all the time. I used to watch these, and they were constantly on TV and everything. I need to watch them more often. I think the last time I watched these was when I did review them, because I did get a paid request for A Few Dollars More on the old channel, but that was like maybe it was last year, I think it was last year. But even then I hadn't watched them in quite a while, so there you go. And then of course we have The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. So the immortal Dollars trilogy, the Man with No Name trilogy, whatever you want to call it. You can't go wrong. Cannot go wrong with those movies. And then we have Clint's first American Western film, Hang 'em High, which, good movie. I do like this one. This is the Shout Select release, because I think MGM might have put out their own release. It's got some extras on here, but not bad for his American Western debut. So, good stuff here. Always enjoyed that one. And then we have his first cop film, and also the first time that he worked with Don Siegel with Coogan's Bluff. Again, I like this movie. Not the greatest movie ever made, not the worst movie. It's got a really cool motorcycle chase in the film, though, and I like that they shot it on location in New York and everything, and it's got some good cast members. good stuff. And I love the police captain in New York, the running gag where, Clint's trying to get stuff done and he keeps telling him, you got to go do this, you got to go do that. And then the last line in the movie, he tells him that again. I just always thought that was hilarious. But yeah, not a bad film. And then we have a World War II double feature with Where Eagles Dare and Kelly's Heroes, which I quite enjoy both of these. And like I said, I have not watched any of these movies in forever, and I forgot how good a lot of these were. Like Where Eagles Dare, like just a great fucking movie, classic World War II film. Same with Kelly's Heroes, which is fun and got a lot of cool stuff in it as well. But I don't know, man. They definitely don't make movies like this anymore. They're never gonna make movies like this anymore. And I know a lot of people look at they're old and those are your grandfather's movies. Well, you know what? My grandfather was pretty fucking cool, and a lot cooler than most grandfathers. And he enjoyed quite a few of these movies as well. So I will carry on the tradition. So again, I don't know, man. Just Where Eagles Dare is just one of my favorite World War II movies. Yeah, it's long, but the first half is a slow burn, and it builds up, and then the second half, that's when shit's blowing up, people are getting killed, and it's when all the action happens. And I love those old school. Even some of the earlier James Bond movies were like that, where the first half just kind of builds up to it, and the second half it just goes all out. And I miss when movies were paced that way. Plus, it's also beautifully shot. It's all practical effects. Clint did a lot of his own stunts, like a lot of his movies. So there you go. But I don't know, man. It's always great. I know it's like, what about Kelly's Heroes? Kelly's Heroes, same thing, man. Like, great cast and all practical, and they're blowing shit up for real, and they're looking for the gold, and Kelly's Heroes is just as fun. But that's the other thing that I love. It's like when you go back and you watch a movie that you haven't seen in a while or haven't seen in forever, it's like visiting an old friend, and it all comes back, and it makes you feel happy. And that's how movies are supposed to be. The movies that are coming out today are not going to have that effect. But then you have movies, some of these movies came out, 60 years ago, 60 plus years ago, some of these Clint Eastwood films, and they still have that effect. Movies today, not so much. Anyway, then we have Two Mules for Sister Sarah. I like this one. I think that him and Shirley MacLaine had good chemistry, and I like the twist with her character, but again, not the greatest movie ever made, but a fun Western, it's got some good stuff in it, can't complain. Then we have The Beguiled, which I thought that I had not seen this movie before, but the more that I was watching it, I'm like, no, I have seen this, because all this looks familiar to me, but, a different kind of movie, kind of head games and stuff in here, but good film. And of course, he worked with Don Siegel on that, so you can't. That's another thing. When Clint was able, when he worked with Sergio Leone, when he worked with Don Siegel, when he worked with some of these other directors, they did some really cool movies. And then we have the first movie that he directed, Play Misty for Me, which I don't think I've ever seen this before, but I did like it. It's got some cool stuff in there. Jessica Walter plays the psycho crazy bitch. So there you go. But good movie. Interesting movie. Then we have the Dirty Harry collection. I actually still have these on DVD because I got the box set that came with the badge and everything. We'll cover that in the DVDs later on. But this is the problem is they never really did that for the Blu-ray. They came out in this set, and then I think they ended up coming out individually later on. The first Dirty Harry does have a 4K, which has some new extras. I do want to get that, but the sequels have yet to come out on 4K. But and I know Rembo Raff and Efri just did a stream talking about these films, which was really good. But these are all classics as well. I just watched all these again, and I forgot. how good these movies are. And this is one of the franchises where I actually like all the films. I like all 5 of the movies, so I cannot complain at all. Classic stuff. And more, I need to watch these. Out of Clint Eastwood, these movies, of course, the Dollars trilogy, Where Eagles Dare, honestly, Pale Rider, High Plains Drifter, Josie Wales, Escape from Alcatraz, Heartbreak Ridge, The Rookie. A lot of these I need to watch more often because they're just, again, you forget how good they are. And I do like that. Once again, they're all on separate discs, which is cool. And then you get all the extras that were on the DVD releases. Because the Dirty Harry, Arnold Schwarzenegger got interviewed for that when that DVD came out, which is cool. Then we have Joe Kidd. Always like this one. You know, fun Western. And it's really short, too. It's only 88 minutes. So, you know, it does kind of get in there. Wham Bam Thank You Ma'am does its thing. But good stuff. I always quite like that one. High Plains Drifter, one of my favorites that he did. You know, always really liked this film as well. Good stuff. Then we got Thunderbolt and Lightfoot. Another enjoyable movie. Great cast. George Kennedy. That's another guy I miss. George Kennedy. Always enjoyed his work. Jeffrey Lewis is in it. You know, a little bit of a different kind of movie. Jeff Bridges is great in here as well, but solid film. Quite like Thunderbolt and Lightfoot. Then we have Cliffhanger before Cliffhanger, The Eager Sanction, which I think this was the last movie that Clinton did with Universal because he wasn't happy there. So this was the last movie that was a part of his deal. But cool little flick. Do like this one. But yeah, Cliffhanger before Cliffhanger. Then we got this nice digibook here of The Outlaw Josie Wales, which out of his American Westerns, I don't know. Sometimes I say this, sometimes I say High Plains Drifter, Pale Rider. I don't know. It just depends. But all his Westerns were great. I mean, it's Clint Eastwood. But really like this, again, nice little digibook here when Warner Brothers actually gave a shit about their physical media department. Got some great art in here. The only thing that was missing from the DVD, I think, there was an intro from Clint Eastwood. For whatever reason, they did not put that on the Blu-ray. I don't know why, but oh well. Then we have The Gauntlet, another one. Actually, Dirty Harry was one of my grandmother's favorite movies. She would always just talk about how much she loved that film, and she would say that was the movie of the 70s, and you know that's a classic. And when I met Andrew Robinson, who of course played Scorpio, he got a real big kick out of that. He thought that was really cool. He's like, yeah, your grandmother must have been one tough lady. I'm like, oh, she was. But she also really enjoyed The Gauntlet because she would always talk about this one as well. She goes, oh yeah, the ending with the bus. I mean, that was crazy. And I was like, yeah, that's what's up. But this is there's another Blu-ray out there which has some shitty Photoshop artwork. I was able to get this one. This is the original release with the original Frank Frazetta artwork. I love Frank Frazetta. I love his artwork. I would love to get some of his art, but no one could quite do it like him. I think we could all agree. But I always really enjoyed this movie too. Again, especially the scene when they shoot the house and the house collapses, and the scene with the bikers, and then of course the ending with the bus. You really can't go wrong with that. And then we have the Clyde double feature, Every Which Way But Loose and Any Which Way You Can. Good stuff here. Can't go wrong with these. And I'll just say it now to get it out of the way. Why, Kino Lorber, the Universal films they put out were great. The Dollars films, the Dirty Harry movies. But why the majority of these Clint Eastwood movies don't all have extras is beyond me. That was the way that they were on DVD. That's the way they've kind of been on Blu-ray. I don't understand. I mean, these Every Which Way But Loose was a huge hit. The sequel did very well. There's only a trailer, and the sad thing is a lot of the people that worked on these movies are dead, so you can't get them. But a lot of these movies did very, very well. A lot of them are still talked about today. They're still considered classics. But no extra features? Come on now, people. Like, what are you doing? Then we have Escape from Alcatraz. I do want to get the Kino release because that actually does have features. This doesn't, but, I'll get that down the road at some point. And then we have Bronco Billy, which I always love this poster. Different kind of movie. I do like it. It's got some little quirky elements to it, but I've always enjoyed it. Warner Brothers was too lazy to put this out on their regular release, so they made it an archive release, but it's better than nothing, I suppose. But yeah, I always thought that was a cool little Clint Eastwood movie. I love the scene when he goes into the bank and the guys try to rob the bank and he shoots the guns out of their hands. I quite like that stuff. Then we have a military double feature of Firefox and Heartbreak Ridge. Heartbreak Ridge has actually always been my favorite Clint Eastwood movie. And again, when that movie came out, that was a big hit. No extra features. Firefox has a featurette from when the movie came out, but Heartbreak Ridge has nothing. And I like both of these movies. I know a lot of people don't like Firefox. Yeah, it's a slow burner. It's more of like a spy movie. I guess it was Clint trying to do James Bond, somewhat. Kind of like Eager Sanction a little bit, because that movie, I mean, he played an assassin, but there was some spy elements and stuff in that movie. But I've always liked Firefox, and Heartbreak Ridge, again, is my all-time favorite Clint Eastwood movie. So there you go. But no extra features. And then we have Honky Tonk Man. This is a bootleg because Warner Brothers was too fucking lazy to release it. So there you go. Not a bad film. It's with his son, one of his sons actually, Kyle. But, again, it's a drama, but it's not a bad movie. Then we have Tightrope, which I always thought this one was really underrated. Always really liked this film, a different kind of cop film, a little darker, a little edgier, definitely paved the way for a lot of the, I think like Until Death with Van Damme was influenced by this and some other movies where the cop isn't exactly, the clean-cut good guy that most people think that they are. So there you go. But good flick. I do always kind of, always quite enjoyed Tightrope. You got some cool stuff in there. Then we have City Heat with him and Burt Reynolds, which, again, not a great movie, but I do like that they were in it. And then plus you get, like Rip Torn is in here, and Richard Roundtree, Madeline Kahn. There's a bunch of good actors, but I know that Burt Reynolds always said that he felt it was more of a Clint Eastwood movie, and he was just kind of, there. But he said they got along. There were no issues. But he felt that maybe, the movie should have been a little bit better. Maybe more of them as like a team, not really, more Clint, and then I'm kind of off here doing my own thing. So there you go. But it's all right, And we have Pale Rider, which, again, I don't know why this doesn't have any features except trailers, And it's funny because the background here, the all brown background, that is from the DVDs. They did, I think in 2000 they started coming out. Warner Brothers they were just called the Clint Eastwood Collection, and they released all his movies. They all had the same background. It was this brown background, and then the front, like the banner said Clint Eastwood and all this. And I had pretty much all those on DVD until I upgraded to the Blu-rays. So they just got that lazy and they just recycled that. But this movie did very well, and this is, again, the Westerns especially are the ones that everybody always talks about with Clint. So why did most of them not have extras? You know what I mean? And we have Pink Cadillac, which is a bootleg, because again, they were too lazy to release it. But also, this is one of Clint's actually biggest flops. I like the movie. I've always liked the movie. He tries to do a little bit of comedy and such. But it was a flop when it came out, because it was like right when, I think it came out like right around the time Batman did that summer. That's a behind the scenes photo actually, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, not a great movie, but I like it for what it is. It's got some cool moments. Jim Carrey actually has a cameo in this, like he did in the Deadpool. So good stuff. Next, one of my all-time favorite Clint Eastwood movies. I look at this one as kind of the unofficial Last Dirty Harry movie, but The Rookie. From the first time I saw this film, I've always really enjoyed it. And like I said, this is, other than the fucking rape scene, because that's what I want to see, Clint Eastwood getting raped. That's what, and when the movie came out, that's what everybody complained about. They're like, why the fuck is this in the movie? I agree. Nobody wants to see this. Why it was there, I don't know. But this is one that I definitely need to watch more often. All practical effects, the opening car chase with the tractor trailers and blowing up buildings at the end, and the stuff with the airplanes. It was all done for real. And they don't do that anymore. And I like that Charlie Sheen was the partner, and him and Clint Eastwood had good chemistry. And it's just it's pretty solid movie. And the problem with that movie, that flopped too, because it came out, I think, like the weekend after Home Alone. So there you go. But the thing about Clint Eastwood, he would have a flop, and then he would have a hit, and then he would have a flop, and then he would have a hit. And that, especially towards kind of the back end of the 80s and into the 90s and into now, like that's kind of how the trajectory of his career went. Flop, hit, flop, hit. So, he's never stopped, but he always bounced back. I do have Unforgiven. I didn't watch it because I watched the Laserdisc, because I had the Laserdisc box set with Pale Rider and Josie Wales. And then I have Letters from Iwo Jima. Those are the only two that I haven't watched yet, so they're over there. We'll get to those later. But another one of my favorite Clint Eastwood movies, and definitely one that I need to watch more often, In the Line of Fire. And why they've never done an updated super duper deluxe Blu-ray of this is beyond me, because it was a big hit when it came out. A lot of people love it. Again, this is another one that was just constantly on TV when I was a kid, so I would just always watch it. Then we have A Perfect World, which Clint kind of takes a back seat in this one, but I think that's why the movie works. It's more of Kevin Costner's film, but a pretty good drama. I think in America it broke even, but overseas it did huge. And then I think, in retrospect, a lot of people point this out as, one of his more underrated films and stuff like that. But it's a good little drama. Again, it's not one that I would watch frequently, but, it's a good film. Then we have Absolute Power, which a lot of this was actually shot in Baltimore, where I grew up. The scenes in the bar, when he goes to the bar that's run by Mark Mogalis from Scarface and Ace Ventura, that bar was actually down the street from where I live. And then where his character lives, where Clint Eastwood's character lives in the movie, that neighborhood was like 3 neighborhoods over from where I lived. Because I was watching it again, and I'm like, yep, that's over by where I live. Oh, that's where the bar was. So... But I saw this actually when it first came out on VHS back in the day. Always enjoyed it. A bunch of good actors in here. So, good stuff. Then we have True Crime. Great cast in here. I mean, you got Clint Eastwood. You got James Woods. You got Dennis Leary. Isaiah Washington, who I've always enjoyed. Michael Jeter has a small part, who I've always liked. Bunch of good people in this film. Good little movie. I like it. And we got Space Cowboys. Fun film. Funny movie, too. I like that one. Then we got Blood Work. Good one. And we got Million Dollar Baby. I think there is a like a up better Blu-ray. I'll get that at some point, but good film. Actually, he won the Oscar for Best Director, and then Hilary Swank won for Best Actress. So there you go. Then we have Gran Torino, which I actually snuck into the movie theater to watch because it wasn't because of the age. Well, I was 16. I wasn't 17 yet, but it's because they said that the movie was sold out, so I actually bought a ticket for Valkyrie, the Tom Cruise movie. Still have never seen that movie, actually. And then I went into Gran Torino, and there was empty seats. And anybody sitting here? Nope. And I sat down, and it was never a problem. So there you go. Then we had Trouble with the Curve. I like this movie. Not too bad. Good casting here. And then we have Jersey Boys, which he just directed, which I do like. I don't think it's a bad movie. It's not really accurate to what actually happened, and it's about Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. And then Frankie Valli, after, of course, when the movie's out, you got to be nice, and you got to, oh, it's great, and they did a great job. Then a couple of years go by, and people forget about it, and then you say what you want. Frankie Valli has been very critical of this movie. He said Clint Eastwood was the wrong choice, and, it wasn't really accurate. But again, most biopics aren't. That's what people don't realize. But I do like it. I think it's a good movie. I actually saw this in the theater when it came out. It didn't do well, but it is what it is. It's a good film though. And I never saw the musical. I think there's a book that came out about the Jersey Boys. I think it was just kind of about the musical. I have that book somewhere. I never saw the musical, actually. So there's that. Alright, so what I'm going to do, just when we're on this side, because you can see kind of what we're doing here, I'm just going to work through these, and then when we get to the other side, I'll shuffle and stuff like that. So we're just going to keep rolling, like Limp Bizkit said. Fucking hands. Alright, one of the all-time classic animated films, one of my favorites, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. You cannot go wrong with this movie. Great stuff here. Classic. Need I say more? Then we have Stay Tuned. Very fun movie. Really enjoy this one. I am surprised. This is when Warner had that deal with Sony. They were licensing some of their movies. It's got a featurette, but it's from back in the day. But I'm surprised that this movie has not gotten, a super duper version from like Arrow or such, because it definitely deserves it. But again, just a really fun comedy, and I like that it is a satire on television and everything like that. And Jeffrey Jones, go fuck yourself. Hopefully you will die very soon. But John Ritter, and it's directed by Peter Hyams. Can't go wrong. But John Ritter, I miss John Ritter. I really do. I should have mentioned that with Sling Blade, but I really do miss John Ritter. I was always a big fan of his work. I remember, I was young. I think I was maybe like 10, 11 when he died, but I remember when that happened, and I just couldn't believe it. Like, it was crazy. When he sadly died, and the way he died too. But I was always a big fan of his. He was such a good actor. And I know most people looked at him as comedic, but he could do everything. He was like Robin Williams. He could do serious. He could do comedy. The episode of Buffy that he did where he played the evil robot that was trying to become Buffy's stepdad and everything. Like that, you could just tell that he had a lot of fun, and apparently the cast said it was like a dream come true that they got to work with him, and whatever he was in, he was so fucking good. I mean, he really was, and I missed the shit out of John Ritter. I really do. I always loved his work. Then we have the Criterion release of Election. I always liked this film. I mean, I remember watching it on like Cinemax back in the day. And when Matthew Broderick's not killing people with cars, he's actually quite good. And I like it's a little bit of a darker comedy. And this came out in '99. Reese Witherspoon exploded that year because she did this. She did Cruel Intentions. I always thought that she was a fucking hottie as a human being. Not quite sure. Is like remember when she beat up that cop? Does anybody remember that? I think she was drinking and driving, and she got pulled over, and she tried to like beat up a cop. You guys remember that? I do. But always thought she was fucking beautiful, and always liked her work as an actress. Other like Four Christmases. I think we covered that already. I like her in that movie. There's a bunch of stuff I like her in. Cruel Intentions. We may have. I think we covered that. Yeah, I think we did. I know I have it on Blu-ray somewhere. I do this shit all the time. Anyway, but this is cool. And there's some extras on here. Alexander Payne directed this. The Holdovers. I did like that. That I reviewed that. I need to pick that up on Blu-ray because I did enjoy that film. But I like a lot of his work, and I like some of the. Oh, there is a new I didn't realize that there is a new interview with Reese Witherspoon on here. Cool. I'll have to give that a look. But yeah, I like a lot of these darker comedies, kind of satires of stuff. I love the ending where Matthew Broderick is like walking down the street and he's got a drink in his hand, and Reese Witherspoon gets in the car with like the senator or whatever, and he like throws the drink at the car. I just always thought that was funny. So there you go. And then we have Mobsters. I like this movie. It's so weird with this film because, number one, I think it was right after Goodfellas and it didn't do well, but they released each like country got a different version. Like Europe got a different version of the movie, and they've never put that version out here and stuff like that. But I do like this movie. I think it's an interesting movie. It's got a really good cast. I've always liked Christian Slater. I like Richard Grieco. I like Patrick Dempsey. F. Murray Abraham, I love. Anthony Quinn, I love. I think it was probably just bad timing, but I like the movie for what it is. But I just find it fascinating that there's, each country got a different version of the film, but they've never done, like, I guess there wouldn't be much of a demand for it, but they've never done like a special edition or whatever that has all the different cuts of the movie. You would think maybe that would be something that they would look into, but apparently not. Then we have Undisputed 3, Redemption, great martial arts film. I need to get the second movie I have on DVD that does have a Blu-ray. They came out overseas, and then the fourth movie I need to get as well. But this one I picked up because it was out of print for a while and it was going for some crazy prices, but when I got it I think it had dipped down a little bit, or I was able to find a deal. But Isaac Florentine, you cannot go wrong. I'm a huge fan of his work, and this is definitely a great martial arts action film. If you have not seen this, check this one out. And it's funny because I don't like the first Undisputed, but I like all the sequels, and it's weird because the first one's a boxing movie in prison, and then the sequels are like a blood sport martial arts type of movie set in prison. And then they did a Bloodsport movie like that, Bloodsport 4, but Bloodsport 4 was fucking terrible. Even Daniel Bernhardt's not a fan of it, so there you go. But I do like the Undisputed sequels. As I mentioned in the previous part, because we covered some Tom Cruise stuff, I do have some more Tom Cruise stuff after. Fuck it, I'll leave it where it's at. It's no big deal. But we have some Mission Impossible movies. First up, the original, which is always going to be my favorite. I absolutely love this movie. I've had this, still have it in the video store over there. Had this on VHS growing up. Still my favorite Mission Impossible movie. Cannot go wrong. Classic, as far as I'm concerned. And then we have the fourth film, Ghost Protocol, which is okay. Mission Impossible 3 I really enjoyed. I need to get that on Blu-ray. Ghost Protocol, and Rogue Nation were okay. That was 4, 5. Fallout was 6. That's the one with Henry Cavill. That one I really enjoyed. And then Dead Reckoning was kind of and then I didn't watch the last one. So 1, 3, and 6 I really like. Mission Impossible 2 is very disappointing because it's a John Woo movie, but they neutered it. You can tell that when you watch the film, you can tell that they cut shit out. And then John Woo wasn't allowed to edit his own movie because Tom Cruise threw a fit. And there you go. Anyway, so yeah, I did review the first 7 Mission Impossibles on the old channel before it got nuked because people are pussies. So there you go. Anyway, next up we have the Spider-Man, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man trilogy. I like the first 2 movies. Spider-Man 3, I never liked Spider-Man 3. So there you go. But I like nice digibook presentation. I do want to get the Andrew Garfield because I actually like those movies. Surprisingly, I really enjoyed those. I need to check that need to check them out. I've already seen them. I need to get that the set. But what's cool about this is it has, I think it has a bonus disc. Yeah, it's got a bonus disc which has the editor's cut of Spider-Man 3, which I never watched, and then it's got some new extra features on here as well. But the first 2, I saw the first Spider-Man when it originally came out in 2002, and then I watched it in October. They re-released them in the theaters for some reason. Me and my brother went and saw that again. And then Spider-Man 2, in my opinion, is still the best Spider-Man movie ever made. So there you go. Fuck Spider-Man 3. I saw that when it originally came out in theaters. I didn't like it then. I had it on DVD. I tried to like it, and I still can't like it. And when I reviewed all of those, I reviewed all the Spider-Man movies too. Still don't like it. There you go. And then people got all butthurt because I didn't like Into the Spider. How do you not like Tom Holland? How do you not like the Spider-Verse movies? Because this is fucking America, you dumb fuck. I can like and dislike whatever I want. You don't like it? Kiss my black ass. Get the fuck over it. Anyway, we have The Wanderers. Great film. Great movie if you have not seen this. With Ken Wall. Ken Wall, at one time, was going to be the next big thing, and it didn't happen for many reasons. But this was the time when he was going to be the next big thing. But I really enjoy this movie. Nice street gang movie from the 70s. It's got both cut. It has the theatrical cut and then like a work print type of version on here. It's got a bunch of extras on here. Unfortunately, nothing with Ken Wall because he, after his career kind of stopped, he became very reclusive. I hope he's well. I know. Think he broke his back or screwed his spine up or something many years ago, and I don't think he ever really got it fixed. So I hope he's okay. You know, that's the most important thing. I know I talked about him when we talked about The Taking of Beverly Hills because that is such a killer 90s action film. I've got to pull that out of here. I want to watch it. I haven't seen that movie in forever. Touchdown, asshole. Great film. But Karen Allen is in this, Indiana Jones's girl, but Scotty Small's mom to my generation. But wasn't she so damn cute? She was so fucking cute back in the day. I don't give a shit what anyone says. But Karen Allen was so fucking cute. Anyway, she's in it, a bunch of other people. Good stuff. And the immortal line from that movie, don't fuck with the Wongs. I remember as a kid, my uncle would always say that. He would just say, don't fuck with the Wongs. I'm like, what? And he told me, no, it's from a movie. I'm like, oh, okay. But he would just always say it. When I see him at Christmas, I'm going to bring it up. Remember, Uncle Frank, remember when you just randomly would say, don't fuck with the Wongs? Yeah, don't fuck with the Wongs. There you go. Next, Eight-Legged Freaks. Such a fun movie. This is another one that was constantly, like Cinemax and HBO, when they had the license, when they initially had the license to this, when it was still new, they showed the shit out of this movie, and I used to watch it all the time. I don't care what people say. This is fun. It's a fun B horror comedy, half parody, whatever you want to call it, you know. in the tradition of Tremors, I agree. That's what the review says on the back here. I've always really liked this movie. It's just fun. It's a fun, zany B horror comedy. Why can't they make those movies anymore? I would much rather have movies coming out today that's like Tremors and Eight-Legged Freaks than, apparently some Disney movie came out over the weekend. It was one of the worst opening weekends ever in history. So there's that. And then we have The Craft 4K Blu-ray combo from Scream Factory. Scheme Fact. Remember when they were good? Anyway. But the reason why I got this is because the older Blu-ray the first Blu-ray they put out was the one that Sony put out with the terrible transfer. Here, they went back and they did a brand new restoration and everything, and it looks awesome. And there is some new extra features on here as well. But I always really liked this film. This is one that my mom would watch a lot when I was growing up. So I would watch it with her, and stuff when I was little, and she would hold me and stuff. But still really like this film. I'm not really big into witchcraft movies, like for whatever reason, that Hocus Pocus, I know it's more of a comedy. Teen Witch, I don't know what it is about like witches and warlocks. I just never really got into that subgenre of horror. You know what I mean? But how can you not like The Craft? Because you got a bunch of hotties in there. So there you go. Whether it's the witches or what's her name? Christine Taylor, Marsha. She was hot back in the day. So, can't go wrong. Robin Tunney, man. One of the best things about End of Days, Robin Tunney takes her shirt off. I don't give a fuck because she's a hottie. Get over it. There you go. Next up, another film that was constantly on television when I was a kid. It was always on the Disney Channel for whatever reason. But The Dirt Bike Kid with, the hell's his name? Well, I know his name is Peter Billingsley, his real name. What the hell was his name in Christmas Story? Ralphie? Look, I'm not the biggest fan of A Christmas Story, which we'll cover later, but yeah, Ralphie from Christmas Story. But yeah, this is one that was always, again, for whatever reason, it was always on the Disney Channel. But I always liked this film. Good stuff. And this is a Scorpion Blu-ray, so who knows where the rights are. But it's a Roger Corman movie because it's New Horizons, so there you go. Then we got some more. Didn't we just talk about Scott Adkins? Yeah, Undisputed 3. I should probably put these movies together. But we have the Ninja and Ninja 2 Shadow of a Tear double feature. I like both of these movies. I saw Ninja when it first came out on DVD because it's Isaac Florentine, who's one of my favorite action directors, and it's Scott Adkins, who I've always liked Scott Adkins. The first time I saw him was the first time he worked with Van Damme, the Shepherd Border Patrol, and then heard about Undisputed and started following his career from there. But both of these movies I like. I think they're nice, kind of old school action films. I think I would. It's been quite a while since I've watched these, but I would say that I like the second one more than the first. I think the second one's better, but they're both pretty fun. I do want to get. I think Retro Gold. Yeah, they did Ninja 2, and that actually has new interviews with Scott Adkins and Isaac Florentine, so I do want to get that released. Then we have Battle Los Angeles, pretty fun movie, pretty fun alien invasion film, kind of got that old school men on a mission type of vibe to it. I could do without the fucking shaky cam, like it's nauseating in this movie, at least in my opinion, but I do like this movie. Good stuff. I don't think it did well when it came out, but it's the best movie Jonathan Liebesman did, because that was the guy that would go on to do the first shitty Ninja Turtles movie. So there you go. The Michael Bay produced ones. Then we have Gladiator. This is the Sapphire series when Paramount was doing that. Always liked Gladiator. I saw this when it first came out on VHS. It's not a movie that I would watch over and over and over again. Number one, because when it came out, it was such a big deal. People couldn't stop fucking talking about it. It got annoying to a point. You know, I will have my vengeance in this life or the next. Yeah, everybody would say that growing up. Like when I was a kid, I probably said it too much too. But you know, on my signal, unleash hell. And but it is a good film. And this is also a movie because it's so long. I have to be in the right mood to want to watch it. I can't just, like, after I get done this video, like, oh, I'm going to watch Gladiator. No, like, I have to be in the right mood to watch it. But it is a good movie. I do enjoy it. I've always enjoyed it. But it's just one of those films that you got to be in the right mood to watch. Also, like with this film, which I do quite enjoy as well, Master and Commander. The Far Side of the World, which when it came out, it was a huge flop. It was supposed to start a franchise and stuff. But this is a pretty damn good movie. But like I said, because it's so long, you know, it's one of those films that you got to be in the right mood to want to watch. But it's a pretty solid film about, you know, the British Navy fighting and getting, you know, in boats and you know, it's got some really cool stuff, got some really cool elements in there. And it's Peter Weir, very solid director, very good director. We'll cover one of my favorite from him a little bit later, but you know, good solid director. And then another Russell Crowe film here, and a good remake. I do like this film, 3:10 to Yuma. I think I rented this on DVD when it first came out because I like westerns. Number one. Number two, it's directed by James Mangold, who I do like. And number three, great cast. Russell Crowe, Christian Bale, Ben Foster, who I've always enjoyed, even though we're not supposed to talk about him anymore because he's in trouble or whatever. But Steve the Pirate from Dodgeball is in it, Alan Tudyk. So there's a bunch of good people in here. But this is a good remake. I quite enjoy this film. Don't think I've ever seen the original. I have to change that, but you know, as a remake goes, that's good. Then we have the Tomb Raider movies, the only good Tomb Raider movies. They're trying to remake Tomb Raider again. They didn't learn? Apparently not. But I really enjoyed the first one. I remember when this came out, it was such a big deal. It was really pushed. It was really hyped. They made such a big deal about it. You know, I did review these on the old channel. This was a paid request. And then I just reviewed this one for fun. I talked about it in the review. You could tell that they went in and they changed a lot of things and they reshot stuff because it's kind of uneven. But I still like it for what it is. You know, it's got some good action. The practical effects are really good. The CG's fucking terrible. But it was a big hit when it came out. Like I said, you know, it was a pretty big deal. This was a pretty big deal, and I still think, honestly, that this is one of the better video game movies. That's just me. And then we have the sequel, The Cradle of Life, which I do like. I don't think it's as good as the first movie, but I do like it for what it is. Apparently, this movie destroyed Jan de Bont, because I think this was the last film he directed. Apparently, he did not get along with anybody making this film. He said that Angelina Jolie was difficult to work with. The studio was very difficult to work with. And I think, again, this was the last film he ever directed. So there you go. And it did okay. I don't think it did as well as the first, because there were plans to do a third movie, but Angelina Jolie said no, so it didn't happen. But, you know, at the end of the day, again, these are fun popcorn movies. You know, I still quite like the first one, even though, again, it's uneven, and you could tell when you watch the film that things were changed and they reshot and stuff. But, you know, they're fun movies at the end of the day. And then we have another Sapphire series, Saving Private Ryan. Great movie, need I say more. Not one that I would watch as much as I used to watch this all the time, because I had my parents had the VHS. I used to watch that all the time. I think, no, my grandmother had it. I do have her copy. Then I had the DVD, but I would watch it all the time. I don't watch it as much as I used to, for a number of reasons, but it is still a great movie. I don't think anybody would disagree. And then, actually, we'll just do this. Well, we'll do this first. Do this. So that way I don't drop shit again. Then we'll do this. And then we'll see. Got about 10 minutes. We'll see. We'll see. We'll take our time. We got a couple Stone Cold Steve Austin movies here. What? First up, The Condemned. Yeah, it's The Most Dangerous Game. It's The Running Man. It's okay. You know, I don't mind it for what it is. I like Stone Cold in the film. It did not do well when it came out, and then Bruce Pritchard on his podcast, who was Vince McMahon's right-hand man, he said the reason why the movie didn't do well is because it was rated R. No, the reason why the movie didn't do well is because it came out in 2007, and Stone Cold had not wrestled in 5 years, and the problem was Vince McMahon didn't want to let him go, especially after he walked out in 2002, after he refused to lose to Brock Lesnar and everything. He was still under contract and he couldn't do movies and stuff like that. That's the reason why the movie didn't do well. It's because you waited too long to put him in movies. Like, that's the thing about The Rock. The Rock, he said it himself, like, when he made that transition into doing films, he realized, okay, well, I've done everything in wrestling. He was after the Rock Hogan match, he was starting to get stale. People were tired of seeing him. You know, there wasn't really much more that he could do, so he had to go away for a while. Stone Cold never really did that. Yeah, I know he got injured his neck and he had to get surgery and stuff like that, but it was too late when he started doing movies because people didn't give a shit. That's why the movie flopped. It wasn't because it was rated R. It's because it came out in 2007. That's why. And then we have Damage, which is him basically doing his version of Lionheart. But it's okay. I don't mind this for what it is. Walton Goggins is in this because this is before he was Baby Billy and his career resurfaced and everything. And then also Laura Vandervoort. I always screw her name up. Vandervoort. I always remember her from Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire, the Disney Channel movie. But she was Supergirl, I think, on Smallville, which I've never seen a single episode of that. And she was in the first Ted and everything. She's in here as well. But this one's okay. And then we have Knockout, which is basically his version of the Karate Kid, except instead of martial arts, it's boxing. And he plays the mentor to this kid. It's alright, it's not bad. I mean, these are, again, they're little B movies, okay? I'm not expecting much out of them, but they're fun. I like Hunt to Kill. I did like that one. I have that over there on Blu-ray because it's a double feature. I didn't watch the other movie in the set. I reviewed that. Recoil's alright. I like a lot of those movies, but the reason why he stopped is Recoil was the last movie that he did. He got hurt. I think he screwed his back up or something. So he didn't want to, kill himself, basically, physically. So he stopped for a little bit. And then I also heard that the people that he was working with, the producers that he was working with, the money dried up. So, he just was like, all right, it's kind of time to go do something else now. So there you go. Next up, we have Dick Tracy. I love this movie. I've always loved this. I should have put them all together. But these pulp 90s superhero films, I've always really enjoyed. There will never be a special edition Blu-ray because Warren Beatty still holds the rights to the movie, and he will not give it up, and he's butthurt and all this other stuff about, Disney claimed it was a flop when it really wasn't, and this and that. So he is in control of it, and it's never going to get a special edition as long as he's alive. But it deserves it, at least in my opinion. But I love this film. I always really enjoyed it. And the thing is, yes, it made money when it came out. It made a profit. It made more than it cost. But they were expecting it to be the next Batman, and it didn't work. And then they're like, well, the marketing and this. No, it actually made money, and it's still making money. So there you go. And then we have Daredevil. This is the director's cut, which is the better version of the movie, but they were lazy and they didn't put the theatrical cut on here. But I've always liked this film. I know even when it came out, people shit on it. And even Ben Affleck back then shit on it and stuff because he's a fucking weirdo. And he doesn't like any of the movies that he was in besides Good Will Hunting and Chasing Amy. Certain movies like Pearl Harbor, yeah, I get. But Reindeer Games is not bad, dude. Shut up. Anyway. But I always like Daredevil. Again, especially this director's cut, which is the better version of the movie. But good stuff. Can't go wrong. Then we have Eye of the Tiger with Gary Busey. Basically his version of Death Wish 3, which came out the year after. This is a Scorpion release, so it's out of print. But I always like this. This is another one. It was like Showtime would run it a lot when I was a kid, so I would catch it on there. And he I don't know why they didn't put it on the poster, but he's got like this monster truck with all these guns and everything. It's actually a pretty fun 80s action movie if you haven't seen it. Yaphet Kotto's in it. Love Yaphet Kotto. I miss him. Bunch of good stuff in here. So yeah, but that's when Gary Busey, after Buddy Holly, he was trying different things and he tried to be an action star, and some of the movies he did was okay, like Bulletproof, where he calls everybody butthorn, which apparently the reason why he did that is because that's what he would call people in real life. So they just worked it into the script for some reason. I don't know why, but it's what I heard. And I think that was right before his motorcycle accident, because I think Lethal Weapon, it was either Lethal Weapon or Predator 2. I can't remember. I have to look it up. I'm not going to look it up now, but it was either, I think it was Lethal Weapon was the first movie after his motorcycle accident, so this was right before that, I guess. But it's a pretty fun 80s action film if you've never seen it. Then we have Reign of Fire. Yes. My brother always gives me shit about this movie. I like it for what it is. When this came out, I was like so hyped because I like dragons. Dragons are my favorite mythical creature. And it's like, oh, it's a movie about dragons. Like, this should be cool. And, my brother always gives me shit about this film. But I like it for what it is. I mean, was Matthew McConaughey the right choice to play this character? Probably not, but it is what it is. I'm sure the check cleared, so there you go. Then we have Free Jack. I don't know what the deal is with people hating this movie. I don't know why it's considered one of the worst action movies ever in science fiction. I always liked it. I think it's got some cool stuff. It's got Emilio Estevez as the lead, when he was leads in movies. I like that. And Mick Jagger's he's kind of a bad guy, but he's not really a bad guy. And you got him, and then you got David Johansen from the New York Dolls. Can you really go wrong? No, but I like this movie. I like Free Jack. Always like Free Jack. Yeah, we'll wrap up, do about an hour, do the last couple here, and then we'll move into the back row. And we'll go from there. Cuffs. Love Cuffs. This is the Shout Factory Shout Select release, which has got some extras and stuff on here, which is really cool. But really fun early 90s action film where, Christian Slater's breaking the fourth wall and having fun and good stuff. But like I said, I've always been a big Christian Slater fan, and this has always been one of my favorite movies that he did. So really, really good stuff, really fun stuff. If you have not seen that, do yourself a favor and check that one out. So there you go. Then we have Twister, the hot spot. No, I'm kidding. That was the commercials, though. But it's Twister. You can't go wrong with Twister. Classic movie as far as I'm concerned. Why they've never done, again, maybe next year for the 30th anniversary, which is crazy to think that this movie is going to be 30 years old. And this was also the first movie to come out on DVD. So there you go. But why they've never done, or when that shitty, does anybody remember that shitty sequel that came out? I didn't think so. That they just just really harped on, and then it made money, but no one talks about it. It couldn't have been that good. But I'm surprised that they've never done a super duper deluxe Blu-ray. Again, maybe next year for the 30th anniversary. We'll see. But come on, it's fucking Twister. Great movie. And probably my favorite Sammy Hagar Van Halen song, to be honest. So there you go. Then we have Fade to Black. Good movie. This is the Vinegar Syndrome release, because I know there was, I think another company put it out later, but I got this. They were running one of their sales. I'd never seen it before. I'd always heard good things about this movie. One of Mickey Rourke's first movies, if I'm not mistaken. But always liked Dennis Christopher. He was in Stephen King's It. He was on Angel for the last couple episodes, the Buffy the Vampire Slayer spinoff. There's actually a commentary with him on here, which is cool. I think there's also an interview with him. But cool film. If you've not seen Fade to Black, check this out. Definitely one of the more underrated 80s horror films as far as I'm concerned. And then we have another Vinegar Syndrome title, which was just a blind buy because of how ridiculous it is. But Tammy and the T-Rex, which, yes, the disc decided it wanted to go for a little ride. Which, yes, it is absolutely fucking ridiculous, and that's why I bought it. So there you go, because I had heard about this movie and figured why not. But this has the family-friendly version, and then it also has the original R-rated cut as well. So there you go. But Paul Walker dies, and Denise Richards is his girlfriend, and they put his brain in a dinosaur, and the whole genesis of how the movie got made was there was a guy, I think in Brazil, that owned the dinosaur prop. He had like a theme park or something. Then he sold it, but before he sold it, he wanted to make a movie with it. That's how this movie got made. So I don't know what drugs they were doing in the 90s, but you can blame that for this. So there you go. But it is directed by Stuart Raffaele. I think Raphael, who did Mac and Me and some other stuff on here. But there you go. And there is an interview with Denise Richards, which is interesting. Sean Wallen's also in this, who I like. But it's pretty zany movie. I've only ever seen it once, and I remember watching it, and my mom was like, "What the fuck are you watching?" I said, "Mom, I really don't know." But it's called Tammy and the T-Rex, so there's that. And then last but certainly not least for this part is Anvil. The Story of Anvil. This is the Ultimate Edition Blu-ray. I actually got this when I saw Anvil earlier this year in concert, and it was kind of ironic how that happened, because I had gotten a paid request to review this, and I went to the concert, picked up this Blu-ray, and then reviewed it and stuff. But first of all, they were great in concert, and this documentary is great. And this was, I think a lot of people, especially the band and fans of the band, they were expecting that this was going to kind of help them get into bigger things, and it just didn't happen. They're still out there playing and putting out records and stuff, which is good, because I've enjoyed, number one, again, they put on a great show, and number two, a lot of their newer records and music I do like, but it just didn't go anywhere. It just didn't happen. It's just the way that it goes sometimes. But this documentary is great. It's got a lot of new features on here. It's got stuff with Matt Pinfield, who used to be on MTV back in the day, who's still out there. There's an interview with Lars from Metallica. There's stuff with Steve-O, because Steve-O's a big fan of the band. They did re-release this a couple years ago, I think in theaters, but it didn't really get much traction or anything, but all good stuff in here. But yeah, this is remastered and remixed and stuff, and it's got a bunch of new extras on here. But really good documentary if you haven't seen it. And Anvil is great. Some great Canadian metal. You can't go wrong. Anyway, that'll be it for part 15. I'm trying to remember here. We will catch you guys in the next part. So until then, take care.